as the Moon Boys celebrate big time on the much-deserved Bitcoin spot ETF victory. Are initial results good, bad, or something much bigger? As the Bitcoin spot ETFs go live, there is absolutely huge early results and some even more mind-blowing confirmations about data of how bigly this will influence Bitcoin's price. So if you're bullish, but deep down you know you can never be bullish enough, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let's absolutely dump on in. One of the first things I want to talk about here is that the 11 new spot Bitcoin ETFs have reached nearly, and it will be, over $4 billion in trading, but about $3.66 billion in trading volume at just 2 p.m. EST on their launch day. Probably, Joe saying here, hitting about $4 billion before the market closes. This is the biggest ETF launch for a single asset of all time. And guys, I mean, we all know how gold reacted when it got its ETF back in the very early 2000s. It went on a gigantic, ginormous, massive bull run. Basically, this chart right here. This is absolutely where I believe we are, okay? But even bigger. I think Bitcoin's going to be much more insane for a million reasons. Specifically also, gold is not finite like Bitcoin. Also, did you know spot Bitcoin ETFs settle daily after the 4 p.m. EST close? Using daily average price as sentiment, ETFs rely on third-party Bitcoin index firms to weigh prices from global exchanges. ETFs will buy the Bitcoin from OTC desks between 4 to 5 p.m. EST to rebalance. This is big, right? I'm sure many people are just learning this, which is absolutely very interesting. Now, one thing I really thought was interesting, British Hodl talked about this, and we all know the BOFA multiplier, the Bank of America multiplier. Eric saying that $500 million, Eric Balkunas of Bloomberg, saying $500 million of volume has caused this move of a $48 billion increase in Bitcoin market cap. It means the current multiplier effect is 1 to 96. $1 causing about $96 increase in Bitcoin market cap. Basically, what that means is that, yeah, it's higher than I think a lot of people expected, as this comment even says. It's going to be very big. And all these inflows, which, again, this is day one, guys. This is day one. Most people were expecting Bitcoin to create some massive dump on day one. Bitcoin it set a new 52-week plus high, about actually a year and a half high, and then it went down a little bit. Ultimately, as I've been saying for months, you know, the first couple days, the first couple weeks of these Bitcoin spot ETFs don't even really matter that much. It's a very long-term thing. But already we're seeing insane hype. We're seeing insanely promising data already. And now Caleb Franzen actually says something that I absolutely basically just said, but also agree with. Bears are trying to dunk on people because Bitcoin fell from 49,000 to 46,000. That's not bearish. You can try all you want. That's not bearish at all. Okay. Let's look at a Bitcoin daily chart real quick before we move on. Oh no, Bitcoin's still up massively in the past 3 months, in the past year. Oh, this is so bearish. Wow, Bitcoin's, are you kidding me? Come on. Get your brain, stop watching those dirty videos and start doing some research. But also, James Van Straten, his thoughts basically about 3 hours in when he tweeted this, give it time, the market is uncertain as much as everyone else's. There's a lot of FUD circulating around GBTC, people like selling the GBTC about Vanguard because they're not letting their customers buy Bitcoin, and it's still around $46,000 per Bitcoin. Even if it drops a couple thousand, it's still absolutely fine and normal and healthy and not bad at all. Volume is immense. BlackRock has seen almost 100 million in volume, actually more than that now as well. Over 2 billion, now it's over 3, going to be over 4 billion combined on just the first day. Market buys don't happen until after the market close or at the earliest around 3 p.m. This is crazy. And so Fidelity and Charles Schwab are letting people buy Bitcoin through these ETFs. Vanguard, Citi, Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, and UBS at this point are not. So there's a lot of people actually going around, and there's a screenshot of this, people transferring their 401ks from Vanguard to Fidelity or, different places where you can actually get this Bitcoin ETF. So like Fidelity or Charles Schwab. A lot of people are doing it. It takes minutes. So this is basically a public service announcement. Show these institutions, if you're a part of any of these institutions and you want in on the Bitcoin spot ETF, take a couple minutes and transfer it out, right? These people should not be able to gatekeep and tell you what you can and cannot invest in. It was just deemed legal. It was approved by the SEC 24 hours ago. And they think they can tell you, hey, you can't actually do it. Absolutely not. This is baloney. Take a few minutes if you have one of these institutions, if you have these right here, just go to Fidelity, go to Charles Schwab, transfer your 401k. It does not take long at all. And you can have access to the Bitcoin spot ETF and share this too. Like if you have older family members that want to do it, just show them that they can transfer, right? It's not a hard process. People that do not let you buy what you want to buy do not deserve your money. Okay. That's the easiest way to put it. So with that, the Bitcoin price is, I'm honestly impressed. I was not really expecting anything today. And we set a new yearly high in a very big wick here, all the way up to about 49,000 US dollars. The highest Bitcoin price has been since back in December of 2021. Over a 2-year high. That's absolutely bananas. And this is only the beginning. I cannot say enough how bullish this is. And I want to keep going back to this chart, showing us where we are in this cycle, how much bullishness we have left. At minimum, right? These Bitcoin spot ETFs might change things. Might even make the first ever super cycle, right? It might do something fundamentally that we've never seen. I don't know. I'm not counting on it. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm just saying it's possible. In just a couple of months until the halving, I simply wish I could be as bullish as I should be, but it's not physically possible. Now, also, the stock market, I'm very interested, for the example, the SPX, I'm very interested to see if we can actually set new all-time highs there. We're very, very close, within like 1% or less. What was the all-time high for the SPX? Right about 4,800, and we're at 4,782. That could help Bitcoin as well. Stocks were down a little bit because we got a little higher than expected CPI numbers today. Irrelevant now. Nobody really cares about it as much anymore, as inflation is starting to come down. It has a positive record. When will we get our first rate cut? Sometime this year. Maybe it won't be that very first month people were expecting. Maybe it'll be pushed out to quarter 2 or 3. Who knows? But ultimately, if we're talking about Bitcoin here, it is hard to find a reason to be anywhere close to anything less than being mega bullish here is just crazy. Man, it's crazy too. Every day for weeks, I was getting comments, hey, they're never going to approve these spot ETFs. You have to be crazy. They've been saying this for years and they never approve them. Those people are dead silent now. What are they doing right now? Genuinely curious. If you're one of those people that was just telling me like, hey, you can't, there's not gonna be a Bitcoin spot ETF approval, leave a comment. Apologize. Leave a comment apologizing for being dumb. And sign up with Femex below if you're interested in sign up with Femex below if you're interested in trading, getting altcoins, buying Bitcoin. Without any further ado, that's it for me.